Hi, in this video I want to introduce you to the Adobe program Lightroom, which is a very functional program that allows you to organize, develop, map, book, slide, print, prepare your photos for the web. It's a mainstay of professional photography today, and it's the primary program that we will work with in this class and in most future classes if you take classes here at Solano or if you take classes elsewhere, and or if you become a professional or serious amateur photographer. This is one of the primary programs that you will likely be working with. So Lightroom is a wonderful program and it has lots of different functions, but it's really a little bit different to get into than some other programs. And I want to give you some context. So first of all, when we're looking at this here, you might look at this window. This is Lightroom, and say, oh, it looks kind of like Bridge. Well, let's go to Bridge and see. Let's remember how we navigate into Bridge. Just a reminder. And I'm going to go actually into this demo photos for now so we can put it into the same thing. I'm going to go into this file that says not birds. And notice I'm just doing the same thing I've been teaching you before with Bridge, how we just keep navigating into these separate folders. Now I'm in a file called Joshua Tree, and when it pops up, you can see that it's very similar to Lightroom. Let me go back to Lightroom and actually navigate to that same folder so you can see here we are. We're in Ideal Student. Looks very much the same. I can go into Not Birds and SoCal and then into Joshua Tree. And it looks very much the same. We've navigated into the same folder. We'll go back to Bridge here. And it looks very similar. So what's the difference? Well, let's actually go ahead and remind you of what Bridge is for, a little bit of context about where Bridge came from. So Bridge is primarily an organizational system. Remember, it has modules across here. You can see all of the photos that are on your computer through Bridge, and that's been a really handy thing for us so far. We can navigate into our hard drive. We could actually go anywhere we want on this computer, any drive that's hooked up. We could go back into here. I could go into any of these folders and navigate to these pictures here. Now don't worry about how I got there. I'm just showing you I really can go anywhere. We're going to go back to the hard drive because that's what we've been working with. Now, one thing I want you to notice before we go back to Lightroom, and I give you a little bit more context about the history, is that when I look at Ideal Student, let's go back to Computer, and I click on Ideal Student, you see that there are 4 folders that show up here. And if we pull this away, this is in Bridge, you can see that there are 4 folders on my hard drive. Exactly the same 4 folders. Slightly different order because I drag them around in here, but exactly the same folders. And if I click into them, for instance here, I have the same subfolders. Everything is exactly the same. Now, let's click that out, and let's go over to Lightroom and take a look at the same thing. We're in the same folder, right? But when we close these things down, we're going to still stay on that, stay looking at the images in that folder. But if I close this whole file, you'll see that this is Ideal Student, this is my drive, right? If I open it up, all we have in Lightroom, this is where we navigate to files, is demo photos. There's just that one folder, but we remember when we look at Ideal Student that there are actually 4 folders there. So what's wrong with Lightroom? Why doesn't it see all the folders? Well, this is one of the key things to learn about Lightroom that I'll get to in a little bit, is that it actually only recognizes the folders that you are going to work with. There's a reason for this, and I'll get into it over and over and over again because it's a little bit tricky to wrap your head around, but it's very useful. A little history about Lightroom, Photoshop, and Bridge. It's kind of helpful to understand that the first program of these 3 that came along was Photoshop, and If you remember Photoshop, if you open up Photoshop, if you've played with it or you've heard about it, you probably are aware that Photoshop is a very powerful program that's designed to work with individual photos. I'm going to just click one of these open. I have to go through a little interim program, and there we go, this same photo. So with Photoshop, you're always just working on a single photo. You actually can pull up different development tools that are going to help us to manipulate this and do different things with it. But we work on one photo at a time. And what many people don't know about Photoshop is that it was actually not developed for photographers. It was developed for illustrators and designers. And they are usually working on layout, working on final advertising projects, other things like that, where they're working on one file at a time, but they needed a program that could manipulate photos. The Bridge program was actually part of, let's go back to Bridge. We won't save this. We don't need to go there yet. Let's go back to Bridge. Bridge was actually designed to work with Photoshop because even, with designers working with individual files, they needed a way to navigate around the files on their computer and locate the file that they were working with, which is what we did most recently. We went in here, navigated here, clicking in, and we've done this in class with our 20 photos assignment. So very useful. One of the things that's cool about Bridge is we can see everything. Now, Lightroom came along because as cool as Bridge and Photoshop were, professional photographers found it very cumbersome to actually have to find a photo, open it in Photoshop, develop it, close it, move on to the next one. It was very, very difficult to actually work with many, many files at the same time. If you're a wedding photographer or an advertising or a product photographer, or even just a very serious amateur outdoor photographer, you might come home with 500, 600, a number of different images, and it's very daunting to try to work with them all. So Lightroom, let's go ahead and go back in and navigate to that same folder. Lightroom gave you an opportunity, and here we are back here, to work with many files at the same time, to organize them quickly, and do a number of other very powerful things, as well as to organize, develop, and print all from the same program. This may not seem that important right now to you, but as we get further and learn a little bit more about Lightroom, you're going to become aware of how important it is. Now, in the next module, or in the next video, excuse me, I'm going to show you how to create your own catalog file, and we'll talk about how Lightroom differs from other applications in its use of a separate catalog file. And I'll show you exactly how to make your own and put your own photos into it.